So this is a RESTful application, a Python RESTful application called iWebLens. What it does is it takes a base64 string encoded image sent by a client, and it detects objects in it using the tiny YOLO object detection algorithm, and returns all those objects that are detected. It does it using the following. So what we are doing over here is we are receiving the image from the client. We are converting it into a JSON object, which is like a Python dictionary. We are extracting the ID from it. We are getting the base64 encoded image from it and converting it into an OpenCV compatible image, and then detecting the objects in that image and returning those objects. The most important part of the code is how the dictionary of objects is formed. So here what we do is, for each image we are looping over each of the parameters or details of the image and adding it to the dictionary, and then performing a deep copy on it. That is what we are doing. That is it. I'm going to I'm going to explain the Docker file now. The Docker file is very simple. It just consists of a number of components that get added as separate layers into the Docker image. So first, what we do is we remove unnecessary files from the Ubuntu repository. We update all of Ubuntu's packages. Then we install the latest version of pip and Python itself, and we upgrade pip. We uh, we ensure that pip is the latest version. Then what we do is we install the all the dependencies for OpenCV in Ubuntu. Okay, we set the home directory as the default directory of this image, okay, and of the container that the image will form. All right, then what we do is we copy all the necessary files. We then install the necessary Python packages, and then what we do is we include the command to run the Python server application, which in this case is the iWebLens server. We also export port 5000 so that the container listens to it and receives and responds to requests on it, HTTP requests. Okay. We updated the repositories, added the public key for Docker and public repository, and then installed Docker IO. We added the public key and repository for Kubernetes, installed the necessary Kubernetes components, and set the driver to C group FS for Kubernetes. Then we earned a swap and ran kubeadm init on the master node and applied the flannel network on the master node. Then we joined the worker nodes to the master. So this is my cluster. My cluster is running on this IP, on this private IP address at zip port 6443. ODNS is the DNS that is domain name resolving service of the Kubernetes service. These three are my nodes actually. This is my master node, and these are the worker nodes, and these are their internal IP addresses. So the name of this is a deployment YAML file. Its name is iWebLens deployment. It has one replica in it. Okay, this part, this template is for the pod actually, and these specifications are for the container. So the name is iWebLens container. This is the name of the image from which the container and pod will be built. From which the container will be built. The container will be housed in the pod. These are the resource limits for the container. This is the port on which the container listens and receives and responds to requests. The container image will never be pulled from any online source. This is my service YAML file. Okay, its name is iWebLens service. We are trying to expose the node port here. All right, the type of traffic accepted by the ports is TCP port. The node port is the port at which all external traffic is accepted. The port is the port at which the Kubernetes service listens and responds to traffic. All the other ports in the cluster listen to the port here. Okay. The target port is the port that takes traffic from the node port and forwards it to this port 5000 on the pod, and the pod in turn forwards it to the container port, which is also 5000. In fact, the target port and the container port have to match. That is it. SKLR1 is the virtual machine on which the master node is located. The highlighted IP address is its IP address. These are the ingress rules in its security list or in its VCN. All ports have been opened in the ingress rules, and all ports have been opened in the egress rule. So I'm building my Docker image, which I will transfer to Docker Hub. I'm pushing the image to Docker Hub. So as you can see, the Docker images have been pulled on both the nodes from Docker Hub, and the server service and deployment YAML has been applied, and pods have been successfully created from the Docker image. So I'm running my my client from out. I'm accessing the web servers from outside the cluster, and now I will show you. And as we can see, there are 5 pods here, and I'm going to show load balancing. You can see that there is load balancing on more than one pod here. Requests on more than one pod.